Hello, Forrest. How are you? Today I'd like to talk about that oft-quoted statement of yours about how we as searchers need to get back in the box. There are a lot of different sources of information that are out there regarding your treasure hunt. It starts with the poem and the clues that you've provided for us in it, and then the thrill of the chase itself with the hints and the stories. There are other books, Too Far to Walk and Once Upon a While, which are like the Thrill of the Chase memoirs that you put out and have information about your life experiences that may or may not tie into the poem and some of the elements needed to solve the puzzle and to find the treasure. And then there are direct, verifiable personal statements that you've made. Things like interviews where we can go back and see the original sources and hear for ourselves what you've said. These sources of information should be regarded as reliable in that the wording that we see or hear, that we read, comes directly from you, and the wording is as you said it, as the way you chose to say it to us. Then there's additional sources of information, quotes from interviews, hearsay, things that searchers who have talked with you have then reported to the community. Other books that you've written which may not have been with the treasure hunt in mind at all. These sorts of information can either be possibly irrelevant for your other books, hard to say, or unreliable in that they've been reported by somebody else, by the media or by other searchers, and there may be well-intentioned errors. This is a lot to sort through. People talk about being lost in rabbit holes, getting stuck at dead ends or taking wrong turns, simply because of the tremendous volume of information that's out there. This information generates a lot of ideas for us. There's so many things that we could latch on as being of interest or somehow connected to a solution. Now, if reading a source of information gives us an idea of what the home of Brown may be, this is one thing. At least you can say right or wrong. The searchers who are making these connections are addressing the clues that you've laid out for us in the poem itself. But sometimes searchers can latch onto what seems to be a good idea from the Thrill of the Chase or from some other source which is not the poem. So, for example, the omega, the colophon that you've used at the end of the book, the double omegas or the single omegas at the end of Once Upon a While. Lots of searchers have used this. They look for it as symbols on signs and rocks or on other natural features. Some people use it for its symbolic nature. For them it may symbolize a rainbow or something else. In one of my earlier videos, I drew a connection to the concept of freedom from that. Now, this type of information is a powerful temptation for us to use. And it's something that we can make connections to some geographical location or a geographical feature, and can get us all excited as searchers. But before we use information like this, ultimately it has to lead back to the poem for it to be actionable. If our interpretation of this information from the Thrill of the Chase or from other sources is a physical one, if it's geographical or physical, it needs to fit somewhere along the sequence, along the path that you are laying out for us in the poem. You tell us to marry the clues of the poem to locations on a map. Ultimately, any good idea should bring us somewhere closer to the treasure. It should bring us or tell us something about one of these physical locations on the map. Or it could tell us something about what's in the final location, that hopefully very compact area around the blaze and the location of the chest itself. If we get excited about this sort of information from the thrill of the chase without understanding where it fits with respect to the sequence of locations in the poem, then it's at best an attempt to shortcut or circumvent the poem. No matter how good the inspiration we might have, if we go directly looking for it, we're likely forcing the solution too much. If it just sits alone and it doesn't connect to anything else, it is likely to lead us astray, because for the very few genuine uses of this information that might be out there, the very few ways in which it could match elements of a correct solve, there are countless ways in which it can lead us to bad solves. There's just so many elements in the Rocky Mountains that can be matched to so many elements in the Thrill of the Chase or other non-poem sources that can get us completely, totally lost. If it's symbolic, if we use an element such as the omega in a symbolic way, then this can help us get into the right mindset in order to find and interpret other parts of the puzzle, to help us understand elements of the poem. But without these connections, no matter how tempting it is to use this information, it can just lead us astray until such time as it helps us understand something within the poem that gets us closer to the treasure, or something in and around the location of the blaze. So when you tell us to get back in the box, and compared to people thinking out of the box, to me, this is what this expression means to me. Whatever ideas we have, wherever sources we draw them from, we must be able to take them back and put them in the box, which is the poem. Search for whatever inspiration we can from other sources, but if we cannot connect it to the poem, we should not overuse it. We should not act on it until we can make it fit. It's like when you have some kids working on puzzles and they pick up their favorite building block and they want to force it where they want it to go in a jigsaw puzzle. They're like, it just doesn't work. You need to look at the context of the part of the puzzle that you've solved so far, find the right pieces so that you can build on it. So I think the community needs to get back in the box, whether that box is the poem and its sequence of locations, or whether you consider that second box, which is, in my opinion, waiting for us in the area around the blaze and the chest itself. Some of these clues, some of these elements from other stories may help us discover what could be a whole large secondary puzzle sitting around the end of that sequence that is hinted at in the poem. So in any case, I will be away for the next couple of weeks, but hopefully I can get a video to you again after 2 or 3 weeks.